This is a guide to food stamp assistance in Idaho for individuals and families. Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge the support of some key organizations. Their efforts were supported by funding from AARP Idaho and by guidance from members of the Food Stamp Curriculum Committee of the Idaho Hunger Relief Task Force. The central goal of this guide is to decrease barriers to participating in the Idaho Food Stamp Program. The Train the Trainer curriculum was created to provide accurate, timely, and consistent information, as well as to dispel misinformation about the food stamp program at the client, community, and legislative levels, so that more eligible Idaho residents can participate. This curriculum is not meant to serve as application assistance. Rather, it is to ensure that advocates and leaders have access to the important information about the food stamp program in order to increase awareness in communities throughout the state. While we update this guide multiple times annually and strive to provide the most up-to-date information possible, it is important to note that policies are constantly changing. As a result, the accuracy of the information in this guide can only be guaranteed as of its date of publication. This curriculum has many levels of use. It can be used for independent learning, informing yourself on the food stamp program. It can be used for staff trainings or larger community trainings. For community settings, we encourage you to review the resource materials attached to this module and Module 2 regarding senior hunger. These training materials will provide you with suggestions on how to make the presentation interactive and engaging. We also invite you to contact the Idaho Hunger Relief Task Force if you would like assistance in becoming a trainer. Just email us at info@idahohunger.org. This curriculum looks at the process of applying for food stamps and explains how participants can use their benefits to purchase food. We will focus on the particular rights and responsibilities of applicants and participants with respect to program access, use, and reporting. These modules will illustrate the partnership between the families that receive food stamps and the food stamp program itself, portraying both the role of the Department of Health and Welfare and the duties of participants. The mutual respect between these partners in the food stamp program is the overarching takeaway of this module. Here is a rundown of the curriculum. As a trainer, it is important to review all of these modules in order to solidify your knowledge of the food stamp program. When presenting to a larger group, though, it is recommended that you only use the modules that are most relevant to the members of the community that you are working with. For example, the overview module would be most helpful to audiences that just want to get a basic understanding of how the program works, while the eligibility module provides much more detailed information about who generally qualifies for the program. Module 1, Overview and Quick Facts. The Food Stamp Program is a federal nutrition program run by the USDA Food and Nutrition Service that helps people with low incomes buy more food and improve their diets. The program's stated purpose is to promote the general welfare and to safeguard the health and well-being of the nation's population by raising the levels of nutrition among low-income households. Seeing as spending on food is often one of the first sacrifices a family makes in times of economic difficulty, food stamps allow families to purchase food critical to their lives even during periods of unemployment or other financial hardship. It is important to note that the food stamp program is a nutrition program that helps low-income people, including many working people, maintain a healthy diet. Nearly half of American adults will benefit from the food stamp program at some point in their lives, and the food stamp program is currently used by many residents of Idaho. In fact, nearly 1 in 11 Idaho residents participate every month. At the same time, many people who are eligible to participate in the program are not receiving benefits. In 2018, only 80% of Idahoans who qualified for the food stamp program were participating. Concerned about these statistics, the Idaho Hunger Relief Task Force conducted focus groups across Idaho with recipients or potential recipients of food stamps. They found that the two most overarching barriers to participation were misinformation about eligibility and application and the perceived stigma of receiving public benefits. The food stamp program is administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The USDA pays the full cost of the benefits and half the costs of administering the program. The other half of administrative costs is funded by Idaho. In 2008, the federal food stamp program was renamed SNAP, which stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Idaho still refers to SNAP as the food stamp program, however. In 2016, Idaho implemented staggered issuance, which means that food stamp benefits are dispersed throughout the first and 10th days of the month. The day of the month that one's benefits is dispersed depends on their birth year. In 2016, Idaho implemented staggered issuance, which means that food stamp benefits are dispersed throughout the first and 10th days of the month. The day of the month that one's benefits are dispersed depends on their birth year. Though food stamps were distributed as paper stamps in the past, participants now receive these benefits on an electronic benefit transfer, or EBT card. In Idaho, this is called a Quest card. EBT cards look like debit cards, which enables shoppers to use their benefits discreetly at a checkout counter. EBT cards are accepted at most grocery stores, corner stores, as well as many farmers markets and community-supported agriculture programs, or CSAs. Quest cards do not only carry food stamp benefits, they can also hold benefits from TAFI, which is Idaho's cash assistance program, and from the Aid to the Aged, Blind, and Disabled program. Because the cards can be used for these programs as well, customers can purchase other non-food items with their Quest card if they are also receiving benefits from one of the latter two programs. However, when paying with the food stamps on their Quest card, customers may only purchase eligible food items. Participation in the Idaho Food Stamp Program benefits both families and communities. For individuals and families, the program facilitates a move to self-sufficiency. Though there is a misperception that many food stamp recipients receive benefits for a long period of time, half of new food stamp recipients nationwide leave the program after 9 months. During the time that they participate in the program, food stamps allow these families to make ends meet. The food stamp program is therefore considered to be a work support program. The food stamp program also promotes healthier diets. Participation in the program enables participants to purchase healthier foods for their families by expanding access to grocery stores and other sources of nutritious food. Additionally, the food stamp program gives participants the option of taking part in nutrition classes specifically designed for low-income shoppers. Eighty percent of all eligible Idahoans participate in the program. Among the eligible working poor, Idaho's participation rate is 55%. As mentioned before, misinformation about eligibility and application methods deters many Idahoans from receiving benefits they qualify for. In particular, seniors and eligible documented immigrants tend to have lower participation rates than the general eligible population. Now we will go over some quick, important facts about the food stamp program, starting with who receives food stamps. Low-income citizens and certain qualified documented immigrants are eligible for food stamps. As explained earlier, almost half of food stamp recipients are children. 77% of food stamp households contain a child, senior, or a disabled person. Some people are reluctant to apply for food stamps because they believe they are taking the benefit away from someone else in need. However, that is not the case. The food stamp program is an entitlement program. This means that anyone who meets the qualifications for food stamps can receive them, and so any person who participates in the program does not take away someone else's opportunity to receive benefits. Benefit levels are calculated based on household size, income, and certain expenses. The average benefit in 2018 was $253 per household. The maximum benefit a household may receive is displayed on this chart. For a family of 4, the maximum benefit is $642. To be income eligible for the food stamp program, a household's income must not exceed 130% of the federal poverty limit. This chart shows the current gross income limits based on family size. Benefit levels are based on many factors besides income, including but not limited to housing, utility, and child care expenses. A self-reliance specialist, or SRS, from the Department of Health and Welfare will review each family's case to determine the correct allotment amount for that family based on their situation. How do participants apply for the Idaho Food Stamp Program? Applicants can apply either by going to a Department of Health and Welfare office or by submitting an application through mail or fax. The most timely method for applying is to go to a Health and Welfare office in person. Applicants can visit any Health and Welfare office to apply, not just the one in his or her own county or region. If the applicant goes to the office, he or she will meet with a self-reliance specialist, or SRS. The SRS will interview the applicant and collect all of the information necessary to determine if the applicant is eligible for benefits. Those who apply in person do not need to fill out an application, as the interview with the SRS fulfills the same function. But they should still bring any available documents verifying their income, identity, assets, and expenses, which will make the process more efficient. Those who do not go to a health and welfare office in person can apply by submitting an application via mail or fax. Applicants can access an application on the Department of Health and Welfare website or by calling the Health and Welfare office and requesting that an application be sent to them. The applicant will need to submit information confirming their identity, income, expenses, and assets along with the application. Health and Welfare will then contact the applicant to schedule an interview by phone. The most common time participants find out that they need to recertify is while trying to purchase groceries in line. The recertification process occurs on a 6-month, 1-year, or 2-year basis dependent upon the recipient's circumstance, or if any information changes, for example, mailing address, participants are responsible for informing the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. Register on the IdaLink portal so you can look up your recertification date. Go to idalink.idaho.gov to register. Contrary to some misperceptions, having a home or a car does not prevent someone from qualifying for food stamps. In Idaho, there is a $5,000 asset limit per household, but certain assets do not count toward that limit. These assets include the applicant's home of residence, one car per adult household member, and educational and retirement funds. As well as providing access to food for low-income participants, the food stamp program also provides resources about nutrition. There is actually an additional nutrition education component to the food stamp program, which includes classes about cooking, shopping for healthy food on a budget, food safety, and maintaining an active lifestyle. Nutrition education will be explored in more detail during Module 5 of this curriculum. Though some may assume that many food stamp recipients receive too much of a benefit or unlawfully receive benefits, the food stamp program is actually very efficient. One indicator of the program's efficiency is the payment accuracy rate, which is a measurement of how accurately benefit amounts are determined by state staff. In 2017, Idaho's payment accuracy rate was over 97%. This means that fewer than 3% of all food stamp benefits issued were of a higher or lower amount than they should have been. Idaho has surpassed the national accuracy rate every year since 2006. In 2017, SNAP Quality Control implemented a new reporting process, making error rates more accurate than ever. Fraud rates have also been consistently declining across the country over the past 2 decades. Community members who witness food stamp fraud can report it by calling 211 or accessing a form on the Department of Health and Welfare website. The food stamp program can also improve the efficiency of the U.S. workforce by providing an incentive for employment. In our state, many program participants who are unemployed or working limited hours are required to participate in Idaho's Job Search Assistance Program, which provides assistance with resumes, job search, and skill building.